So moving on to financials and the WIP lifecycle. Lori, thank you for I threw you in the fire there without much preparation into this group. So definitely curious to see what you learned as you talked about how might we incentivize contractors to submit periodic WIP reports in a machine readable format in ways that provide clean and justified data to financial institutions for human and database consumption, so that more transparency leads to benefit for financial service reviewers and contractor submitters. Lori, how'd it go?
Well, I learned a lot today. My tagline pulling away from it is essentially WIP reporting is an art, not a science. And the things that struck me in that chord were, number one, that the relationship between the surety broker and the sureties and the construction and contractors is really, it's a relationship driven business. That I think was, you were talking about how 5% of WIP reporting comes with a phone call, and it's really about providing context. And the interesting contrast we got there, and at different points in the call, we had the contractor perspective that perhaps there's some fear that if we move to this standardized or automated way of reporting, you lose that relationship. But then from the surety perspective was like, oh, no. Actually, if we go to standardization, it improves the relationship and we're more reliable. So it seemed like there was maybe in that perspective, a little counseling session that could happen where, surety providers and brokers could really help contractors understand how the relationship will continue and that it is important. But then if we dig a little bit deeper, we talked about what goes into a WIP report and essentially, the different sources and the different areas for different sources of knowledge within a contractor for the forecasting versus the job to date reporting. And how aligning those is also an art, because the forecasting is really an experience-driven game, and having flexibility to adjust those numbers or incorporate that context prior to the WIP reporting was incredibly important. So it's not just about aligning or standardizing on one system or getting one system to be able to produce this. It's really about business practices within a contractor. So definitely the human element all the way through really was a learning element for me. And it seems like addressing that human element actually is essential to standardization. And the objection may not be so much to standardization itself, but we really need to unlock that before potentially we can get to some of the benefits, wider benefits of consistent reporting and standardization for contractors.
Well said, Lori. You're an expert at this. You've done this before, haven't you?
I was a contractor. I can spit bullshit out all day. No, I'm good.
Awesome. And so, yeah, a lot of these slides that Dennis went through, if you guys were in that group, we have put that stuff up on the website. Thank you, Michelle, for helping to put together a lot of the language on this. So looking forward to, getting the word out more about this, just as we've been talking about RFIs forever, WIP is just another one of those shared pain points that we can, I think, really leverage to create shared gains between the different surety perspectives and contractors. So again, all that data is there and you can check that out. Again, along the same notes, some upcoming events this summer, July 17th to the 20th here in Denver will be the CFMA National Conference. We're excited to have a panel where a number of us from this group will be talking about the fundamentals of financial data interoperability. So I know that's coming up. And actually, if I believe there was an NASBP conference as well that I didn't have information on, but if somebody that's in that world wants to share any information, because I know we've got folks that are relative to that here, not to put anyone on the spot.
Well, there's our annual meeting begins April 29th through May 3rd. But easiest way is to go to our website, and there'll be content and some demos related to this discussion.
Awesome.
XBRL use and basically system.
Cool. Don't mind
that. Was me, sorry. Click the wrong button.
I don't know why I did that. Yeah, that always seems to do that. At any rate, okay, moving on. In Austin coming up, some folks may have met Christina at the our summit in in Denver in February, but there can be a very kind of similar activities and different interactions. Again, the more I've been talking to Christina, really interested in what this is going to be, and I'm certainly going to be there and encouraging others to sign up and learn more and ask questions, because we need more of these sort of free thinking, outside the box opportunities to really flex our minds and solve these very complex challenges in our industry and come up with simple solutions, as I know Nicole and others are asking for. So you can sign up more there, and should have more information soon about potential either CPC member discount codes and other items. But let's move on to location tag and issue analytics. So I spent a good chunk of time in here. I know we had a rowdy discussion. DJ led the crew here around how might we communicate and resolve issues by codifying relative location tags across 2D, 3D, and reality capture in ways that capture and validate the source location tag across different issue types and project delivery phases, so that aggregated issue logs in your application of choice can search, filter, and visualize across all stakeholder systems. So I know location codification was certainly the word of the day. DJ, did you guys make any headway? Did we solve any of those problems?
Oh yeah, it's all figured out. It's all figured out. But the word of the day, credit goes to Mr. Mark Goldman for coining that phrase when we were at the conference in February. So it's really kind of stuck, because that really kind of summed it up. But was definitely a good conversation with the group there. Lots of interesting perspectives from like Kelly, Rachel from the design side. We pretty much came into an agreement when we talked about locations and about the need to no longer have locations be linear in nature, but more of like a multi-relational type of things, like basically creating a Rosetta Stone when it came to locations, and kind of further defining what the word location means to different users and different people that are involved with the project, whether it's drawings, floors, levels, areas, pour sequences, work breakdown structure, work packaging, survey coordinates, project internal coordinates, site layout, Northing and Hastings, GIS, like all this stuff is there, and trying to help kind of bring it together. So at the end of the day, when issues do come up, there's a means to kind of help create sort of like a measure of impact, so that those, like when there is a design change or an RFI or something comes through, instead of just having to sift through 30 RFIs that come through a day, you're actually able to see, hey, the significance of impact on your particular system or your scope of work that you currently have. You may need to actually really look at this RFI instead of just kind of glancing over it, because that kind of gets a waterfall effect of one RFI leads to another RFI, which leads to another RFI when it could have potentially been solved earlier. We did not figure out like who's going to create it and who's going to babysit it and who's going to pay for it. I think Nathan volunteered the CPC will pay for this location codifier. So, but I really think it's just more along those lines. But I got to give Mr. Jeffrey Roulette some credit there. He waited until the very end, but I do really love kind of what he said. And so I don't think I could quite say it as well as he did, but he basically said is, we have these conversations about technology, fixing what is just bad practice, horrible management, not really doing your job. And he's definitely right. We need to push back more a little bit about, creating the standards and forcing adherence to the standards, and just instead of letting people kind of continue to do things the way they were, right? Because we are all tired of the phrase that gets used a lot in construction. Well, I've been doing it that way for 20 years. Why would I change it now? And so it was a good one. And I feel like this has grown from something that we had a hard time grasping in Denver to where I think, it's actually, I think might have some legs to it. To where there's it's not like really the information has to be created because it already exists. We just have to figure out the means to actually make the Rosetta Stone to make the translation and the relationships possible. The codifier. Yeah. Mr. Mark's location codifier. Well,
and as we'll have to eventually move on to that, I think the next one's gonna be something around habitual in fact, in high school, I got in trouble once for being a habitual disruptor. And I keep thinking about like habitual disruption as like, how do we disrupt our habits is really what it's about, right? And you can create technologies, Fitbit, all that stuff that helps you disrupt your own habits, but you actually have to will and want to do it. So I digress. Way too many health and weight loss analogies for a Wednesday afternoon. Let's dive in. There have been a lot of podcasts out there, and nobody listens to more than Mr. Jeff Sample. I think he even found some that he's not in. Jeffrey, you want to take us through your top podcast feed?
Yeah, I'll jump in real quick. A real fun one here when you have a guest of your own that you had on that comes on another show and brings even more. So Sam Hamilton was on Bridging the Gap recently, and so that was an awesome one. Yes, DJ, there are ones that I am not on. This is an awesome one, New Tech and Construction, featuring Tyler Williams. If y'all don't know Tyler Williams, I had the opportunity to meet Tyler at the ConExpo ConAg, and he happened to be on the Construction Brothers, so I got to listen to that on the way home. He's got a really unique take on technology, the future, coming together with what the Construction Brothers and Tyler Campbell are doing, which is why I threw on battling construction labor shortage with Tyler Campbell and Story Builder and what he's trying to tackle. Brought him on the Contact Crew because mashups are what we're all about. I didn't have a chance to look through to see if Nicole Carter was on, but this is a really cool opportunity for us to record. We recorded this during Women in Construction Week, and I think it was International Women's Day, the actual day we did it, and had Nicole Carter on finally on the show, which was awesome. And then I love podcasts that are outside of our world but are techie and bring something new. So I went with ChatGPT. Did not title this podcast. If you were like me, a bit of a skeptic and a little bit struggling with why the heck people are getting things out of it, this is a great one for you because it really reframed some of the things I thought about it and brought it to me. And then last but certainly not least, EBFC, which Caitlin Frank was on, who started eMod, but her story of overcoming two different industries, from coming from construction and safety as a woman in the industry, and then jumping over to tech that has very similar problems. And I think the number, guys, is 2% of all construction technology startups were women. So we're talking rarefied air, but also just jumping through that and really crushing what they're doing at eMod, and the way she's looking at safety in general is awesome.
Oh,
man. One more. I didn't see that in the list. Sorry. The Dottie.
I added it last minute.
There's a reason to be the Dottie is you get your own episode on the Dorks. So tune in to hear from our Dottie of the year this year, Alice Leung.
Oh, well, thanks for spoiling it. So if you hadn't just heard from Jeff, Alice was our award winner this year at the summit. And again, if you're not aware of her driving efforts behind the Construction Talent Retention Survey and those efforts, and just again driving all things technology and innovation for the industry on now on the venture capital side with brick and mortar, really awesome to see. Alice and I go way back, so congratulations again to her. Can't wait to listen to that episode, as she is very deserving of that. Keep being dorky. We'll get you nominated for next year. Last thing before we depart here, we've got a couple minutes. So a ton of call for presentations or presenters. Again, we've got a lot of great things to say, and we need to be out there saying them, because otherwise someone else will, and they probably will say it wrong. So lots of opportunities to submit. If you haven't submitted to present before and looking for support, please reach out. I can help however I can. But I know we've submitted for AGCIT Forum, and again, we'll be at the CFMA conference, and then fall is going to be here before we know it, with Groundbreak, New Former World, Trimble Dimensions, AU back in Vegas, thank goodness. Thank you, Walker, for throwing all those links there in the chat. So feel free to take those on. But with that, last couple notes, so all of those recordings, for those that were not in Denver in February, we have almost kind of TED Talk length, 15 to 20 minute recaps of what happened at the throughout the conference in those different 6 topics. So head to the Construction Progress Coalition YouTube channel to check out all of those recaps, as well as a nice little short recap with Jeff Sample. Thank you for making all that way better than me, because I'm not good at those things. And apparently you're a natural, according to the videographers. But I think we all knew that. Yeah, keep following your passion. Check out that. Also, make sure to subscribe to Contact Crew, because they're on YouTube now too. But we will be selecting our day. We do these every other month. So we'll pick that date in mid-June, send that out to everyone. We'll look at our other 3 topics from Denver that we did not talk about, and shoot, there's probably some of these topics that obviously have more to talk about. So anyone that's got the energy and the time to be prepped, we'll create roundtable conversations around it. So thank you, DJ. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Anil. Thank you, everyone that took the time out of your day. And with that, we will see you again in a couple months.